In 1888, a doctor named Rufus Weaver spent 5 months meticulously stripping away every piece of tissue from a human cadaver until only one system remained. This is the preserved nervous system of Harriet Cole. Mounted here, it looks less like a biological machine and more like a dense, branching bundle of electrical filaments. The standard scientific assumption is that these nerves are the output. We search the folds of our gray matter for a seat of the soul, believing that if we map every synapse, we will eventually find the factory where our reality is manufactured. But a wire, by its very design, is a conduit for a signal that originates elsewhere. If we look at Harriet's anatomy not as a generator, but as a physical interface, the entire nature of the mind shifts. If the nerves are the wires, the universe provides the current. In this framework, consciousness is a non-local broadcast, an infinite wave of potential data playing across the cosmos at all times. Harriet Cole's intricate web of nerves serves as a highly evolved biological antenna built to catch and translate a tiny fraction of that cosmic frequency into a subjective experience. To see how the universe perfected this specific receiver, we have to look at its ultimate high-speed hardware testing ground, the evolutionary history of Earth. Scientists call this the Garden of Trillions, a massive biological experiment where the universe tests the limits of what its physical forms can perceive. The experiment runs on a fractal minimum pattern, the 4 nitrogenous bases of DNA. This simple, recursive code provides the foundational rules for every antenna. The universe scales this blueprint at maximum creative velocity. It iterates those 4 bases into the staggering complexity of a blue whale, a redwood tree, and the human nervous system. While 99% of all species have gone extinct, these disappearances represent the system's efficiency. When a hardware design reaches its structural limit, the universe reclaims the raw material to fuel the next iteration. Nature never starts from scratch. It rhymes. It applies a consistent structural logic to vastly different environments, ensuring that the rules governing a simple particle are reflected in the largest galaxy. We see this in the ancient skeletal architecture of a dinosaur. Despite its scale, it relies on a spine, bilateral symmetry, and a central brain. Millions of years later, a dolphin inhabiting a fluid underwater world maintains that exact underlying geometry. The environment shifted, but the hardware logic remained stable. Every species in the biological record represents a new way for the universe to tune into a different frequency of reality. Swapping the biological antenna rewrites the organism's entire dataset. The mantis shrimp possesses 16 photoreceptors in its retinas, compared to a human's 3. This hardware grants the shrimp access to polarized light, ultraviolet, and infrared, bands of the cosmic broadcast that are physically impossible for humans to perceive. The architecture of the antenna also determines how an organism processes its own existence. Humans rely on singular awareness, where a large, centralized brain processes the signal into a single point of view. But in the insect world, we find plural awareness. An ant colony functions as a decentralized network. Awareness is outsourced across thousands of individual bodies, acting as nodes in a larger, single hive mind. We see the ultimate manifestation of this plural hardware in the honeybee. A bee will attack a threat until it dies, simply because it lacks a localized sense of self. It acts purely as a reflex response for the larger hive, functioning as a single nerve ending in a superorganism. Consciousness is a raw, infinite signal that takes the specific shape of whatever biological antenna is built to receive it. If the universe is broadcasting infinite potential at every coordinate in space, why do we experience such a limited, stable, and linear world? Accessing the full, unfiltered broadcast simultaneously would result in a whiteout of information, a state of paralyzing sensory overload where every possibility crashes into the mind at once. The human brain evolved to subtract information, not to perceive reality, but to filter it. This biological limitation machine, the default mode network, separates the infinite data stream into stable, binary icons, strictly so we can survive a tangible environment. When this chemical filter is lowered, through the use of compounds like DMT, The hardware is temporarily flooded by the raw, unfiltered cosmic broadcast that the brain normally hides from us. You are not a random accident. You are the universe's finely tuned limitation hardware, built to restrict the infinite so the cosmos can finally experience a single, beautiful slice of the finite.